Close your eyes for a second and picture a thick stack of money sitting on the table in front of you. Nothing happened, did it? No bills appeared in your hand. So most people decide the whole idea is nonsense, sit and daydream about cash, and the universe mails you a check. It sounds like something a child believes. But something did happen. In the second you held that picture, your brain fired in a specific, measurable way, in many respects the same way it fires when the money is actually there. And the wealthy have been using that quietly, on purpose, for 100 years, while the rest of the world laughs at vision boards. This is not magic, and it is not positive thinking. It is a sequence, a chain of events, that runs inside your skull every single time you hold an image, whether you aim it or not. Most people run that chain by accident, against themselves. I am going to walk you through the whole of it, step by step, exactly what happens in your brain when you picture money, and how to point it, for once, in your favor. Step 1. The 2 rooms of the mind. To follow the chain, you first have to see the machine it runs on. Almost no one was ever shown it. A doctor named Thurman Fleet drew it back in the 1930s, and Bob Proctor spent his whole life teaching it, because no one has ever seen the mind, and a thing you cannot see is a thing you cannot use. Picture a large circle resting on a small one. The big circle is your mind. The small one below is your body. Now split the big circle across the middle. The top half is your conscious mind, the part reading these words, the part that reasons, compares, and can accept or reject any idea it meets. That is the part you call you. The bottom half is the subconscious. It does not reason, and it cannot reject. Whatever the conscious mind hands down to it, it takes as an order and gets to work moving the body, shaping the habits, quietly arranging the whole life to match. Proctor called that lower half the paradigm, the picture you already live by, running everything under the surface. And notice the cruelty of the design. That upper gate stands open all day to whatever drifts through it, the headlines, the bank balance, the worry, the endless scroll. Most people never once decide what they hand down. They let the world choose the picture for them, and then they wonder why the life keeps hardening around a picture they never chose. So here is the entire game in one sentence. Whatever image you hold in the top and let sink into the bottom becomes an instruction. When you picture money, you are not wishing. You are handing an order to the one part of you that never argues, and that single fact changes everything about what happens next. Step 2. The mind cannot tell real from imagined. Here is the strange thing the old teachers built everything on, and the thing modern brain scanners keep quietly confirming. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between an experience you actually live and one you vividly imagine. Think of the last nightmare that jolted you awake, heart slamming, sheets damp, the whole body flooded with fear. Nothing had happened. You were lying safely in your own bed. But your body did not know that, because the deeper mind took the picture as real and ran the entire chemical response to match. That is not a quirk of sleep. That is how the mind works every hour you are awake. This is why elite athletes spend hours rehearsing a race entirely inside the mind. Wired up in a laboratory, their muscles fire in the same order, and the same regions of the brain light up, as if they were truly out on the track. The nervous system never learned the difference between the real run and the imagined one, and neither did yours. Neville Goddard stood in front of audiences for 40 years and said it plainly, the world is imagination pushed out. What you picture and feel on the inside, he taught, is the mold, and the outer world sets around it like plaster. He was not being poetic. He was describing a mechanism, one he had tested in his own life again and again. So when you sit and hold a clear scene of the money already in your hands, not hoping for it, but seeing it, right now, as done, the subconscious does not file that under someday. It files it under true. And once a thing is filed as true down in that lower room, the whole machine begins, quietly and without your permission, to build a life that agrees with it. Step 3. Feeling is the switch. But a picture, on its own, is a dead thing. You can sit and run mental slideshows of mansions all day long and watch nothing whatsoever change, and this is exactly the ditch the daydreamers fall into, the ones who pray, wish, and wait while doing nothing. The picture is only the blueprint. The current that carries it down into the subconscious has a name, and Goddard put it right in the title of a small, blunt book. Feeling is the secret. An image held coldly does nothing. An image soaked in feeling goes straight in. This is why the man who worries is such a powerful manifester. He pictures the bill he cannot pay and feels the dread of it completely. and the mind takes that vivid, emotional picture as the order and hands him more of exactly that. He is working the law perfectly, in the wrong direction. The fix is not to try harder to stop worrying. The fix is to give the mind a different picture to fall into, and to make that one the one you feel. So, you do not picture the money the way you read a shopping list. You step inside the scene and feel it, the ease of it, the quiet relief, the gratitude of the thing already done. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and you hold it until it is more real to you than the room you are sitting in right now. Florence Scovel Shinn taught the very same law through the spoken word she had. People give thanks for a thing before a single sign of it had appeared, because thanksgiving is the feeling of the wish already fulfilled, and feeling is what presses the picture in. You do not thank life after it delivers. You thank it first, and the thanks itself is the switch being thrown. If you want the exact way to do this each morning, I built a free daily auto-suggestion sheet, the same morning installation the old teachers would have walked you through, with the feeling built right into it. It is the first link in the description. Claim it, use it morning and night, and let it go to work on the lower room while you sleep. Step 4. Your brain starts showing you the way. Goddard once told of a woman living in a small, cramped apartment in the Bronx who longed for a home of her own. Night after night, she did not merely wish for it, she walked through the rooms of that imagined house in her mind until she could feel the floor beneath her feet. She lived in the end. And in time, through a chain of ordinary events she could never have arranged herself, that home became hers. Now here is the part that actually answers our question: what physically changes inside your brain? Deep in your brainstem sits a filter that neuroscientists call the reticular activating system. Every second, your senses take in around 11 million pieces of information, and this filter throws almost all of it away, letting only a few dozen ever reach your awareness. It cannot show you everything, so it shows you only what it has decided matters to you. And how does it decide what matters? By what you dwell on. Hold a picture long enough, charged with feeling, and you quietly reprogram that filter to treat money and every doorway toward it as important. You have felt this in a small way already. Buy a certain car, and suddenly you see that car on every street. The cars were always there. Your filter simply started letting them through. The same thing happens with money the moment you truly hold its picture. The side job a friend mentions in passing, the skill you already own that someone would gladly pay for, the quiet request that turns into a raise. These are not new arrivals from the sky. They are old doorways your filter had been hiding, because a mind fixed on lack had marked them as unimportant and swept them out with the other 10 million things. This is what Goddard meant by the world is yourself pushed out, not that money teleports onto your table, but that the man carrying a vivid inner picture begins to notice the opening, the conversation, the offer that the man beside him, staring only at lack, walks straight past. If this is the kind of teaching you have been hungry for, take 1 second and subscribe, because this channel exists to hand you the old sources, made usable, week after week. Your circumstances did not change first. Your filter did, and then you began to see the road that was under your feet the whole time. Step 5. You quietly become the person. Watch what happens next, because it is almost invisible. The picture, held and felt, does not only change what you see, it changes who you are being, from the inside out. A thought accepted becomes a feeling becomes an action, and a chain of actions becomes a result. Proctor drew that arrow 10,000 times: thought, to feeling, to action, to result. The man who has truly installed the picture of wealth stops carrying himself like a man who is broke. He answers the email he would have avoided. He asks for the number he would have talked himself out of. He keeps the small promise he would have quietly dropped. Nothing dramatic, just 100 small decisions a day, all of them bending the same way. Hill told the story of a man named Edwin Barnes who decided, with nothing to his name, that he would not merely work for Thomas Edison but stand beside him as a partner. He had no money, no connection, no way in nothing but a picture he refused to set down. He arrived at Edison's lab looking like a tramp, took a job sweeping floors just to get through the door, and held that one image for years until the day it became literally true. Edison himself said the man simply looked as though he had made up his mind, and a mind truly made up rearranges the man long before it rearranges his circumstances. This is why two people with the same job and the same paycheck can drift into entirely different lives over 10 years. One is still running an old picture of lack and behaving accordingly. The other quietly changed the picture, and then behaved his way, one decision at a time, into a different life. Same circumstances, different inner blueprint, completely different result. Step 6. The picture pulls the action. Which brings us to the final link, the one the daydreamers never reach. The picture does not do the work for you, it does the work through you. Every teacher in this lineage said the same thing, and it is the exact line the vision board crowd loves to skip. Goddard lived inside the assumption, but he also acted from it. Hill turned his aim into plans and moved on them the same day. Not one of them sat and waited for the universe to be a delivery service. They knew the inner picture was the cause, and their own feet were how it came to pass. The wish fulfilled, felt as real, makes you restless to move, and the move then meets the very opening your new filter has started showing you. So here is the whole chain, laid end to end. You hold a clear picture. You soak it in feeling until the subconscious takes it as true. Your inner filter reprograms and begins showing you the way. You quietly become the person who already has it. And then you act today, where you are, with what you have, and the outer world finally catches up to the inner one. So that is what actually happens in your brain when you picture money. Not magic. A machine. A picture accepted by the deeper mind, charged with feeling, filtering your attention, reshaping who you are being, and finally pulling action out of you until the result appears. It has worked in precisely this way for 100 years, because the mind itself has not changed in 100 years. So tonight, before you sleep, do not picture the money like a man staring through a shop window from the cold street. Step inside, feel it as already done. Fall asleep inside the scene, as though it had already arrived. Then do it again tomorrow, and the day after, until the scene stops feeling like a wish and starts feeling like a memory of something that has already happened to you. Here is the honest part, though. You will not truly believe a word of this until you watch it work once with your own eyes. The first time you hold the picture, a louder voice calls you a liar, and nothing moves. So you keep going, and one day a small, unexpected sum arrives from a direction you were not even watching, and the whole thing stops being a theory. That first proof is exactly why I built the 1-4 day money magnet. 14 days, one short email, and one simple task a day, aimed at attracting your first $100 on purpose. It is paid, on purpose, because only the committed ever see the law work, but if you do the work and the 100 does not come, you email me and I return every penny. The risk is mine. It is the second link in the description. That is not the whole of the practice, but it is the first turn of the wheel, and the wheel has always turned for the ones who actually put their hand to it. The law is not waiting for you to deserve it or to understand it perfectly. It is waiting, as it always has, for you to use it. So put your hand to it. Start tonight.